Hey everyone, welcome to week 12, day 3, in our self-portrait week, in our turning our gaze into ourselves week. Monday, we brought back from the grave, because I had thought that I was never going to use these colors again, but we brought them back. And I'm trying to integrate those neon colors to my palette, and I think I'm liking them. I feel so weird by saying this, but I think I'm liking them. So we did a self-portrait with that punchy, super saturated, kind of like magenta neon color as a base. That was super cool. I actually really liked it. They're not easy to paint with, to be totally honest. I think they're super transparent. They have no body to them. So they go against how I usually paint. And yesterday I tried to mix some of those colors with more of my traditional palette. And I did the back of my old coconut bald head, and I think it was cool. I think it was really cool. I've always thought, I mean, you probably can't tell, this is like how I see myself, and the way we see ourselves, sometimes it's very distorted, but I did my back like really wide, and then kind of like, I've always thought my head was round, but not really. It's kind of like egg-shaped. So I really pushed like a broad back and a long head, and I thought it was a super cool painting. And today, well, let's see what today we're gonna do. Let's see what we're gonna do today. I'll see you guys. Okay, let's get started. For today's painting, I was thinking of trying something a little bit different, just something a bit more playful. Outside this week's project, I think I've painted myself for, I don't know, tens of times, if not hundreds of times. I've drawn myself and painted myself. So in thinking about how to represent myself, I realized, well, if there's one thing that has characterized me in this 2020 year, has been this project. This project has been our constant in our lives. So I realized that the one thing I've grown accustomed to, and I'm very conscious of in terms of practice, of it being a practice, has been the act of painting. And I always try to separate what the act of painting means as opposed to just, trying to make paintings. And let me see if I can explain that a little bit. For, I don't know, maybe the first 15, maybe 12 to 15 years after I graduated, my only concern was making paintings. I wanted to make a living as a painter. And to make a living as a painter, you are taught that you have to start somewhere and you have to start selling your paintings. Those are the two things that are most important. So you have to have a gallery. It could be a small gallery, it doesn't matter. And you have to start selling your paintings, and they have to sell. If you sell your paintings, then other people are going to start to take you seriously. Chances are that if you have a show and you sell out, then the second show you have, you are going to sell a bunch of paintings, because people are already thinking, wow, this person sold all of these paintings. There's something good happening here. We have to get in on this. And for the longest time, I was trapped, and I often talk about how this is a cycle that, unfortunately, the art world and most of the art education institutions, they kind of feed into this cycle. In simple terms, it means that you are going to pay a lot of money for your art degree. If you do a master's, you're going to pay a whole lot more. And the only way to get out of that is to work at a great gallery and start to sell paintings at really good prices. I was taught to go to a small gallery first. And for me, this meant walking with 3 paintings in a tube under my arm with no appointment, because this is totally true. This probably would never work nowadays, because nowadays galleries have specific days where you can show your portfolio, and other galleries are by appointment only. Other galleries are going to check your social media account and see how many followers you have. So the more you can publicize it means that they're going to have a higher percentage of a probable sale. So I walked around with my 3 paintings under my arm going to a bunch of galleries here in Bogota. And I went to so many galleries that I lost my sense of shame. That's how many galleries I actually went to, and how many galleries actually rejected me or looked at me like I was some sort of an idiot that didn't know how things work. But the thing was that I didn't know anyone. So I couldn't just ask somebody to, present me to some gallery director, some curator. All I had was my work and this kind of blind faith that I had in my work, because my plan was that I would walk around with my rolled paintings. I would just unroll them on the floor of the gallery. This is what I did. And I would tell the people that were there, whomever it was, it could be the secretary, it could be the, the director, a curator, anyone who would just give me like 2 seconds. I would tell them, okay, I have these three, but if you give me about a year and a half, we can have a whole show. And most of the time, people were like, I am so sorry, but this is not how things are done. And even though I would go back and I would write an email, I would never hear back. That's what usually happens with galleries when they're not interested in you. For me, it was very disheartening at the beginning, because I had come from New York thinking, okay, the only reason that I'm coming back to Colombia is to paint, is because I can't paint as much as I want to if I stay in New York. And it was killing me. It was really sad to be conscious of how far I was separating from my dream, which was to be a painter. And the only option that I had in my head was to come back home and say, okay, I'm sacrificing being in New York. I'm sacrificing the sense of thinking that I was having a successful life as an artist, because I was, for the uncertainty of coming back home, which for me, being from Colombia, meant like a step backwards. When I decided I want to have a show, I pursued galleries in this insanely awkward way. I felt I had no other way of doing it. I felt that that was the only way I could make people notice me. So I walked around with my paintings, literally, like I said, under my arm. And eventually I hit a gallery. And by the way, being a young artist is probably one of the hardest and most ridiculous things that exists in this planet. Because, like everything else, they want you to have experience and they want you to have mature work, which is ridiculous because that goes against the very nature of being young. But they're not willing to take a chance on you because they see you as a liability. So the toughest thing for me was to find that place where people were like, oh yeah, we like this. And that's exactly what happened. And I was like, listen, I have these three paintings. I know I can do more and I know that they can be really good. Just give me a chance. Give me a year and a half. I'll promise I'll do a great show. I'll have a great show for you guys. And that was the beginning of my painting career. They said yes. A year and a half later, I had 46 paintings. And opening night, somebody stole a painting off the wall. They booked it. But people loved that. For some reason, that's what people remembered from the show. They were like, oh, this show is so successful that people are stealing the paintings off the wall. So I think I had 47 paintings. We sold the 46 paintings. If not opening night, then the day after we had sold everything. And it was incredible. And it was absolutely incredible. And even after I think I had three more solo shows with her. Even when people were telling me, oh, this is too small of a gallery for you, you have to move to a bigger gallery, I always remained faithful to her because she was incredible. She was incredible to me. She was the one person that said, okay. She saw what I saw, which was just three paintings, but three paintings that meant that they were going to be the beginning of something that was bigger. We finished our relationship, quote unquote, because I still talk to her, but because I wanted to do just bigger things and hope that I could get into a bigger market. Because like I said, that's what we were taught. We were taught to just have a show, sell out, to have another show, to sell out, to have another show, to sell out, to then grab the attention of a bigger gallery that says, hey, you've been selling out. I want you to be with me because we can sell bigger work. You can paint larger if you want. And I actually, and this is what the gallery director of this bigger gallery that I went to said, I have access to people that are going to pay you probably 3 times as much for what you're doing. and I will let you do whatever you want. And that was amazing. I had then a relationship with this person, with this gallery for years. I think it was maybe 7 or 8 years. And unfortunately, he closed his gallery. And I always tell people, like, I think I could have worked with him until I died because he was the sort of person that cared about me, that really, really cared about me, like genuinely cared about me. It wasn't just about, oh, let's have a show and my way of caring for you is just to sell your work. No, he would always call me up and say, what do you need? Show me what you're doing. But because he was genuinely excited, not because he wanted to say, whoa, 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 no, we're not going to be able to sell this. He always told me one thing, which I thought was just amazing, which was, you do whatever you want. Don't worry about anything else. My problem is to try and sell those paintings, but I'll deal with that. And I loved him for that because I really felt that sense of liberty and of understanding that I could be a painter, but I could also be a happy painter. And there's a big difference there. And I am totally at peace with myself because I think I have painted whatever the hell I wanted. And it's incredible to see how nowadays, when the art market is just so fragile that it has turned upside down because shows are being canceled or being moved. But if shows are moved, then the whole calendar has to move. So if you think about it, artists that were planning on or relying on money that was coming from the show at a certain date now have to say, no, that money's going to come in 6 months later. And what people don't usually realize is that we artists sometimes live on very, very thin margins. And like I said, it's this cycle where you get charged a ton of money when you study, you get charged a ton more money when you do your MFA. There are not enough teaching positions in the world to accommodate all the people that do MFAs. So academy is not an option for everyone. And obviously, the lesser option is going to be being part of a very successful gallery that is pushing you, that treats you right, where you're going to be able to sell paintings at a very high price in order to pay for all your student debt. You start realizing how tremendously fragile this business we are in is. And it's incredible. It's incredible to see how something that that people called me stupid and weird and they thought it was ridiculous. When I said almost like over a year ago, I was like, okay, I'm giving up all this cycle I'm in. I'm going to sell my paintings for less money. And the goal is not to equate what being a successful artist is, which is like a Damien Hirst, Jeff Koons sort of image where you're selling for millions and you are this eccentric kind of millionaire artist. And I thought, well, why does it have to mean that? Why does being a successful artist have to mean that? Why is it that that's the stereotype? Why can't success be measured differently? And now you get people that are like so aware of how fragile this market was and this whole cycle is of trying to make more and more and more and more money, that suddenly people are like, well, let's make it accessible then so that we can try and make up for this moment that nobody knows how long it's going to last. And let's just socialize artwork in very different ways. But I really do believe that it's incredible how people noticed that there are different dynamics that we can adopt as artists to try and socialize our work and to create a market for our work. But we have to make sacrifices. That's the thing. And people have to be willing to make those sacrifices. And the sacrifices are, I'm not going to be a millionaire. So who cares? Who gives a crap if you're not a millionaire? When I thought of myself, specifically at this moment, and myself as a witness to the way the art world is transforming, because I tell people, dude, if this stops, like, let's say 6 months from now, if we come out the other side completely unscathed and feel like, okay, we're past that. Let's go back to our normal life and galleries open and everyone's selling for tens of thousands of dollars, hundreds of thousands of dollars. and schools start charging tens of thousands of dollars for tuitions, and MFAs cost over $100,000, then we are idiots. We as a species are ridiculous and we're idiotic because we didn't learn anything from this. My hope is that we do. My hope is that this changes everything. And it is scary to know that things are going to change, but they can change for the better. And this market can change for the better, and it could be broader, and we can help each other out in magnificent ways. If we hadn't believed that, this project, Our Painted Lives, wouldn't exist. And it still exists every month, every day, because we are dependent on day to day. It exists every day because people are willing to say, hey, I'll buy that painting off of you, and I like it, and keep going, please. Because we truly believe deep down that people can help people, like regular people can help regular people out. That's the whole point. When I thought of portraying myself during these times, it was imperative to me to say, I am going to speak about the making of a painting. The act of painting is so, so invaluable right now. So I told myself, yeah, I'm going to go back to my super trusted 4-color palette, and I'm just going to paint myself painting one of these paintings. And it would be interesting to just paint in a very, very muted palette a painting that I had done 2 days prior. Because I chose that painting, I wouldn't be able to have access to the qualities, to the attributes of those colors. And yet I paint. And the reason I decided to do this painting is because I often tell people that even though we may be aware of all those shortcomings that make up our educational system, that make up the market, the bigger market of the art world, we paint in spite of that. We paint in spite of so many things that are against us. And that's what I loved about this painting. That's what it means, that I can't get magenta, neon from a 4-color palette. I can't. It's impossible. It's absolutely impossible. But in spite of that, I paint. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Thank you guys for hanging out. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye.